Hello everyone, this is Mr. Elrod, and we're back for another session of AP Human Geography Review. Today we're going to be talking about site and situation. Now, the reason I'm going over site and situation is number one, often early in the year, students have a hard time distinguishing really not necessarily the difference between site and situation, but the importance of site and situation. When we talk about geography, we're talking about the study of space. Really, the site and situation are two important distinctions that we need to make because they really help us to get a great understanding for the space and also why the space has developed in the way that it has. And so that's going to definitely be impacted by the way that humans have interacted with that particular space. So it's a really basic concept, but it's really integral in order to the practice of geography and also the understanding of the importance of the places that we're looking at. So first let's go over exactly again what the importance of those things are. Number one, it helps us to describe a place. Whether we're talking about the place itself or the things that surround the place, it helps us to describe, give a description to that place. Helps us to really understand the importance of that particular place, whether that's the importance to the people that are living there or the people in the surrounding community or region, or also to the world itself. So it helps to understand why that particular place is important. But we also begin to understand the specific characteristics of that place, and that can be a variety of different characteristics, and we'll talk more about that in just a second. But anyway, it really just helps us to understand the importance of a place. So if we talk about site, really we're talking about the specific characteristics of a place, and again, that can take many different forms, whether we're talking about the cultural, the economic, the geographic pattern, the characteristics of a place. And you could go on with a larger list, and of course, some of these are specific to the human character of a place, and you could also talk about the natural character of a place, whether we're talking about the geographic landscape, we're talking about the religious culture of a place, or we're talking about the economic structure of a place. And then again, when we begin to examine that, it helps us to better understand why people have interacted with their space the way that they have, how they've interacted with their space. So again, you can take that kind of to a variety of different levels. So site is really important for us. In situation, we're talking about the location of a place in relation to its surroundings. So not necessarily the place itself, but that place in relationship to other places around it. So how is it connected to the landscape around it, whether it's the physical landscape or other actual places, whether it's cities or towns or maybe a port, a river, a mountain range, whatever it happens to be. So we begin to understand why that place is important relative to its surroundings, and then that can help us understand why people have interacted the way with it the way that they have, why the place has developed in the way that it has, and again, it will help us to understand why a place is the way that it is in terms of maybe its historical development, its cultural development, its economic development. Again, these are really just kind of basic questions we ask ourselves in geography. But if we begin to ask ourselves these questions and we begin to understand these questions, then it helps us to understand the concept of place and space just a little bit better. So just kind of give you, uh, by way of example, today I'm going to be talking specifically about the county that I'm currently living in and where I teach. It's called Forsyth County, home to exotic towns such as Matt, Coal Mountain, Ducktown, and Cumming. Now you can see in the upper left-hand corner, that's just a map of the county. In the bottom right-hand corner, you see a map of the county with the lake, Lake Sidney and Lanier, and then what we have is called Georgia 400. Now, if you were just to look at that, you really wouldn't understand, or you probably wouldn't know that Forsyth County and Cumming is actually home to one of the fastest growing, wealthiest communities in the entire country. Now, just by looking at the map itself and looking at the names of the towns, you wouldn't have a very good understanding of that. And so, in order to put it into perspective, we need to look at kind of Forsyth County in the larger context. So here's the state of Georgia. You have Forsyth County here labeled in red, and directly beneath it you see DeKalb County, where my cursor currently is, and then Fulton County, which of course both of these counties house Atlanta, which is kind of in the middle here where my cursor is. So really it's about the proximity of Forsyth County to Atlanta, and then of this picture we were looking at just a second ago, 400, which connects Forsyth County to I-85, which runs directly through Atlanta, helps you to understand the growth of Forsyth County, the wealth of Forsyth County, and why things have happened in this community over the last 10 to 15 years in the way that they have. So anyway, most of the examples I'm going to be talking about today are going to come from Forsyth County, so I figured I'd give you a little bit of a context. So anyway, that is site and situation. So now let's go into our review questions. As always, look at the review question, pause the video, see if you can answer the question, and then come up with your reasoning or rationale as to why that is the answer. So the first one our first statement is the median income of Forsyth County. So would this be a description of a site characteristic or a situation characteristic? And of course, that is a site characteristic. Again, if we look at the median income of the place, then we can begin to understand why it has developed the way that it has. We can also begin to understand why certain companies or stores are starting to move in, communities are beginning to pop up, things along those lines. So move on to the second question, second statement. It says the proximity of Forsyth County to Atlanta helps to explain its concentration of well-paid professionals. And that is a situation factor, again, talking about Forsyth County's location in relationship to Atlanta, which that is a situation we find ourselves in here in Forsyth County, is that we do have a large concentration of professionals who work in and around the metro Atlanta area, and it really has to do with our proximity to the city that allows us to have that here in the county. Third statement is the tax rates of Forsyth County may help draw new businesses to the county. And that is going to be a site factor. Forsyth County does have some of the lowest tax rates in the metro area, in the metro Atlanta area, and that has allowed us to draw a lot of new business. But it's not just the tax rates, it also has to do with the transportation infrastructure that has been developed by the state. So again, those two site factors have been one of the reasons why we've seen such growth in the county. The next statement says the collection, which that's a local retail establishment, kind of like a local retail center, an outside mall almost, is located 1 mile from South Forsyth High School and 0.5 miles from Georgia 400. And that is going to be a situation factor, and we talk about this very early in the year. We have a retail establishment, the collection, which is only about a mile here from the school, maybe not even a mile, and you can imagine one of the reasons why the collection situates itself over there. Very close to the school off of a main thoroughfare, Georgia 400. Also, you have several establishments that are friendly to children and students of teenage years. Frozen yogurt place, a Chick-fil-A. It's one of the highest grossing and most profitable Chick-fil-A's in the entire Southeast. And again, a lot of that has to do with the fact that you have a lot of students who can actually walk there after school, and that's what they'll do, either go to Chick-fil-A or Starbucks, something along those lines. And our last statement says, the collection includes many stores and restaurants which would attract students and their families. And that is going to be a site factor when we look at the collection. The retail establishment itself has a lot of these restaurants and stores and things that are going to be friendly to students and their families, which is going to be attraction. So those would be the site characteristics of that particular place. So anyway, that is site and situation. I hope you found that to be helpful. Again, leave some comments, share, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel. Let me know some of the things that you would like to hear discussed or see discussed, and I'll produce those videos and post them online as soon as I can. Good luck studying for your test.